give you another head start. If you want to follow along the scripture, it's going to be in the lost book of Micah, back in the Old Testament. It's easier to go to Matthew and flip back a few pages. 934 in my Bible. Micah chapter 5 and verse 2. Also be in John chapter 6, part of the message this morning. Last night they were still Hallmark Christmas movies on. Maria and I were the only two that were watching. So I figured Hallmark can still show Christmas. I could use a little Christmas thought this morning as well. Micah 5:2 says this: "But you, O Bethlehem Ephrathah, are only a small village among all the people of Judah. Yet a ruler of Israel, whose origins are in the distant past, will come from you on my behalf." Jesus picked up that same thought a little bit later on in Matthew chapter 6 and verse 35, when he was teaching about prayer. He said, "I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never be hungry again. Whoever believes in me will never be thirsty." And now before you say, "What are you talking about? How do those two verses tie together?" Let me see if I can help you with that. Bethlehem. Its name is magic to the mind, unveiling a past far too grand for such a humble village. But its name is more than a melodic ring, a pleasant sound of the past, because the name Bethlehem has meaning, great meaning. And revealed within that meaning is to be found prophecy and fulfillment. Bethlehem means house of bread. Literally, the word Bethlehem means house of bread in both the Hebrew and in the Aramaic. Instantly comes to mind, to my mind anyway, our Lord's word claim when he said, "I am the bread of life." May I give you a 21st century translation? I'm the stuff you need. I'm exactly what you need in the world in which you live. I am the bread of life. The bread of the communion table, which is before us this morning, as the bread of the miraculous feeding of the 5,000 in the New Testament, I think takes on a whole new meaning, a great significant meaning when we think about it this way. Jesus came as the bread of life from a place called the house of bread. Within the stable there in Bethlehem, God offered bread, the very stuff we need to a hungry world, when he brought forth his Son, who is the bread of life. You know, Christmas is a season of many flavors, of sights and sounds. You can savor aromas and you can nibble. Anybody want to confess to nibbling some over the holidays? You can nibble and nibble and nibble, tasting all those delicacies that come from some of the best kitchens anywhere. But unless, listen to this, unless you've tasted of the bread of life, you are literally starving to death. Now, it may not feel that way with the extra pounds you put on. But if you've not tasted the bread of life, savored the fullness of God's love and God's forgiveness, you're dying of malnutrition. And there's no need for anyone, anywhere, to leave the table of Almighty God hungry. I remember, and I've shared this with you one time before, I remember a place in Tampa where I grew up, right across from Sears Roebuck. Sears took up an entire city block. I mean, Sears was the place to go. But right across from Sears was the Wholesome Bakery. It's now the Wonder Bakery, still exists. And many of my classmates on Facebook have been talking about that place that we used to go as kids. The lines were long, and you get to tour the Wholesome Bakery. If you've ever been around baking bread, you know how good it smells, right? And boy, this place had the best of going. And we would go through all those conveyor belts and those ovens, and we would see all the things that were made there, smelling that bread the whole time. I think the highlight of the tour was always at the very end, where they handed you one of those little loaves of bread, hot from the oven. And I want to tell you, it was good. My mouth still waters today when I think about how good that fresh bread tasted. Boy, was it good. Jesus is just like that. He's good. The name Bethlehem literally means house of bread. And God's intent was to bring forth nourishment for every one of us from that ancient city. Let me kind of describe Bethlehem for you, if I can. I'm not from this area. I don't live out here. I travel a distance to get here. So I'm only guessing from what I've heard that at one time this area was rural, still is pretty much that way, although Richmond's just a hop, skip, and jump over yonder. And then Sandston, is it that way? Would that be right? That way? Some say that way, some say that way, some say two think something about, I don't know. Sandston's somewhere nearby. Would that have been about the closest thing other than Richmond to a village around here? That's your Bethlehem. It wasn't big by any means. It was that small little place. It was that place that God chose to bring forth his son. It was the city of Bethlehem, which was the city of King David from yesteryear. And when you go and think of Bethlehem as the house of bread, I want to tell you one nibble of that bread is not enough. One taste of Jesus, for me at least, invites a continuous feast, a harvest that is the greatest ever. On the road to Bethlehem that first Christmas so long ago, there were many different travelers, if you think about it, each with his own story, each telling others of their hopes and dreams, perhaps, as they walked along. It was such a confused and busy crew. Not everyone noticed the needs of the people around them. They were going to Bethlehem because there was a census being taken so that they could pay their taxes. Uncle Sugar wanted his cut, right? And so they're going to be enrolled. A lot of different people from a lot of different walks in life. And as they traveled along, I can almost promise you that no one paid attention to Joseph and Mary. They were just two more people along the road. And as I shared with you a sermon or two ago, I think Mary was a young teenage girl. I suspect that Mary was, because she was great with child and walking a significant distance, I think she was probably a little bit stressed out, a little bit tired. And this is a side, you can put this over here, but it's not worth the thing. Whose idea was it to send a little drummer boy to a lady that just had a baby. Think about it. So here are Mary and Joseph. They're traveling along, heading towards Bethlehem. And what does the scripture say about that place for them? In Luke chapter 2 and verse 7, it simply says, there was no room for them in the inn. I wonder how many people in the world feel like that today. There's no place for them in the world where they feel really comfortable. I wonder what Mary felt during those hours. Fear. She's got a baby. She'd never done that before. So she's a little bit frightened. I can imagine that giving birth, since it was a new experience, might have stressed her out just a little bit. And to add to the pain of that, no one cared enough even to give Joseph and Mary a place to stay that would be comfortable. A girl wrote a letter, or actually wrote a prayer some years ago, and it reminds me of maybe what Mary was feeling. Listen to what this young lady wrote. Dear Lord, sometimes the tears of the whole world wash down on me as if they were all my own. I'm a hungry child staring through a window of a restaurant. I am a mother bending over the body of her starving baby. I'm an old man squatting on the sidewalk, shivering in his thin jacket. How shall I join myself to them, Lord? How do we join ourselves to those in need in the world? During this time of confusion, in a world that makes little sense to us with all of this political nonsense going on, how do we find a way to make room in our hearts and lives for the bread of life? But how do we find a way to make room for the down and outs, for the needy? I believe there's a reason God came to earth in Jesus Christ. His birth in that tiny village of Bethlehem, I believe, was a celebration worthy of the most noblest lords. And some made the trip over the hills to the site of the ancient prophecy, the birthplace of the king. One's imagination is apt to wonder, what must they have thought as they traveled to Bethlehem? And when they arrived in Bethlehem, what must they have been thinking? I was just reading an article about a group of people that have now been identified and studies are being made. They're called the Duns, D-O-N-E-S. You know who the Duns are? There are 65 million of them in the USA. They're people who used to come to church and they got so turned off they said, I'm done. I'll never go back. They are the hardest group of people to reach in the world. 65 million people got turned off by church. And you know what the number one thing was that we're finding out? They got turned off because we, the church, are too judgmental. Think about that. There are people who are dying and going to hell. There are people who are hurting in so many ways. And we're more concerned with what you drive or what you wear or what you look like than we are for their souls. So how do you reach the Duns? I'm not sure anybody's found a way yet. What the Duns are doing is reaching other Duns. They're gathering in places like Panera Bread. And they're having church, if you would, among 3 or 4 or 5. But the one thing the Duns are not interested in doing, from what I read in this research paper, the Duns are not interested in what we do best. Committees. Committees. They want to do ministry. They want to be on mission. They want to go where the people are. So if we're going to reach the Duns, where are we going to find them? In a committee meeting? We're going to find them where there are needs. However long the trip was to Bethlehem that first Christmas, there were people that were searching, and as they traveled, they were wondering. The journey was long for some of them. Certainly it was difficult. And there was a group of several that were coming from the far away land, and they were traveling because they had seen in the ancient prophecies that the king, the Messiah, was to be born. And so they traveled following MapQuest, following a star. And as they traveled, we know the story, they brought gifts with them. What were the gifts? Gold, frankincense, and myrrh, right? There was a reason for that. They wanted to honor the king. But they were also smart enough to know as they traveled, and some say they may have traveled for a year to a year and a half, they couldn't carry all the supplies they needed. So what did they carry with them? They carried gold, and they sent an advance man out. The advance man bought the bread they would need. Little did they know that they were going to the house of bread to receive the bread of life, but bought enough bread to feed them along the way. However long those astrologers were on the road, they couldn't have carried everything they needed. But they were smart enough to know we can barter for what we need. Their arrival in Jerusalem and then in Bethlehem suggests that they made the trip very well. I don't want to suggest to you this morning, it'd be kind of silly of me to say that they sniffed out the aroma of bread in Bethlehem, but I think they did without even knowing it. The bread of life, Jesus had come, and I think they sniffed it out and they found their way. And they found the one who was able to say, I'm the bread of life. In Matthew chapter 6, there were a group of folks that said, teach us how to pray. And Jesus said, pray like this, our Father who is in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Holy, holy, holy. You are above all. You are the only way, the truth, and the life. Hallowed be thy name. And then it says, give us what? This day our stuff that we need. Give us, Lord, that portion of bread to sustain us, our hungry souls, so that we can go to another committee meeting. I don't think that's it at all. Now, if you're a committee person, please don't misunderstand. I've been part of committees for the last 212 years. And I told John and Ted, if you want somebody to go to committees, get somebody other than me, because I'm tired of them. And people need us. People need the bread of life. Give us our daily bread. Give us that stuff that makes a difference. The prayer of the ages was heard when Jesus came. In ringing anthems from the angelic choirs, in the heralding words of God's messenger to the shepherds in the field, Bethlehem's field, and the blaze of that bright, dazzling Christmas light, God responded to the petition of time. Give us bread. And he brought the bread of life, Jesus Christ, who comes to fill our souls, to nourish us, to give us strength for today and every day. That's what God gave. It's said on the mission fields around the world that you can't feed the souls of hungry people. While their bodies are hungry, you can't give them nourishment for the soul. You have to feed the body to be able to reach the soul. And so we're finding when we go where they are, that you don't go and just preach, you go and you reach. You become one with them, and you minister. The danger is that we'll get so caught up in feeding the body that we'll forget the soul. Or that we'll get so caught up in doing the committee work. And committees have a place, but so does mission teams. If we get so caught up in doing the work of committees and we forget the people, we've missed out on who we are as church. So I wanted to start off 2019 by saying to you, we are a people who have gathered together to worship the Lord. But let us take our worship out where the people are. Let us go to where the people are in need and maybe just give them a smile, a kind word. Maybe there's something we can do that makes the difference so that they can come to understand the good news is for all people. Christmas bread, the bread of Bethlehem, the bread of life, is for all time, for all people. It's a daily bread that comes to us. When the people were in the New Testament, were asking Jesus to teach them to pray, and he said, give us this daily bread in that prayer, they were thinking back to when in the Exodus God brought forth manna and fed them on a daily basis. And I think that's exactly what Jesus was thinking. That bread came from heaven. This bread, me, comes from heaven. And I'll feed you on a daily basis. Why does Jesus feed us on a daily basis? So that we can be strong enough to be his people on mission for him. God heard the prayer of his people hundreds and hundreds of years before Christ was born. And when Jesus came, he came to bring hope. He came to minister to the needs of the people because too many heard what Mary and Joseph heard. There's no place for you in the end. Mary was a very faithful church attender. Mary was one of those old school ladies. 35 years ago, Mary was still wearing a black hat. My first few Sundays, Mary was wearing white gloves. And Mary was wearing an attitude. Mary always sat right about where the lion sitting. Not here. And one particular Sunday morning, a new family came in to visit our church. And they sat where Mary was supposed to sit. And Mary came down the aisle, and she used a cane. And she took the cane, and she rapped the gentleman on the shoulder. And she said, "You're in my seat." And they asked forgiveness. And they gave her her seat. And we never saw them again. Because Mary said to them, "There's no room for you in this place." Same church, months removed, in a deacon's meeting. One of the deacons said, "A lady spoke to me in the parking lot. She was quite upset this morning. And she said she couldn't find a parking spot near the building. And she wanted that changed." And I wanted to have a revival and say she couldn't find a parking spot because the parking lot was full. Hallelujah. But I was too new, too young. I didn't say anything. So Hallie spoke up. Hallie was our only female deacon at the time. And Hallie said, that was no lady, that was my sister. And she's just too lazy to walk across the parking lot. Hallie was saying, there's no room for them in our church if they park in my parking spot. Jesus said, I've come to the house of bread to be the bread of life, to give you the hope that you need so that you can be on mission for me. I am the bread of life. He who comes to me will never hunger. When the angels came from heaven and down to the shepherds in the field, there was a bright light, and the shepherds were frightened. They'd never done it that way before. And the angel said, hey, I got some good news for you. Over yonder in Bethlehem, that little village just over there you can see, something phenomenal is happening. God is coming. Get up and go see it. And they left everything behind. And they went. And just as the angels promised, they found Jesus. Later on, those traveling wise men came. And as the prophecy had foretold, they too found Jesus. And the question for us today is there room for Jesus in our hearts and lives and in our church? And if there's room for Jesus, are we going to be the people who say to the community, there's a parking spot for you. There's a pew for you. There's a place for you. There's room in the end. Come and experience the joy of salvation. The hope who claim to be the bread of life. For 2,000 years, the church has been using the example that Jesus taught his disciples just before he was betrayed by one of them. He's been saying, take this Passover meal that reminds you of the angel passing over, and let it be a reminder for the church that my body will be broken, that my blood will be shed. And that's your hope. That's your hope. Because I am the bread of life. We come to the table of the Lord, and there's room for you. But Jesus said, before you take of the elements, put your heart. And be sure that I really am there. And that I have a prominent place, or the prominent place in your heart. Father, I ask right now, as we prepare for this Lord's Supper, this communion meal, that you remind us that once we said there was no room, but now we claim there is a place. Remind us through this meal that not only is there a place in our lives, but we want to be the kind of folks who can say to others, there's a place for you. Help us to be on mission.